always indulge in God, hearing about God, talking about God, living God, bringing out the God in you, the best in you. So आज हम लोग नई श्रृंखला प्रारंभ करते हैं. अगले महीने में कमलेश बहन के यहाँ गीता योग है, and then we will have, उसके बाद संतोष भाई के यहाँ है. This topic will probably last us for more than a year. And the topic is the most brilliant one. I think arguably the most popular one could be certainly the nearest and dearest to my heart, which I call God in God's words. And Bhagwad Gita में भगवान के विषय में क्या कहा? तो बहुत ज्ञान तो सुना, भक्ति, there's 18 different yogs in Bhagavad Gita, विषाद योग, कर्म योग, ज्ञान योग, ध्यान योग, आत्म संयम योग, संन्यास योग, all bhakti yog, right? All these different kinds of moksha yog. So all that is fine, but in between, hidden behind all of that, उसके पीछे छिपा हुआ भगवान है, right? I don't know if any of you got a chance to look through the monthly email that I sent a couple of days ago. So we'll pick up on that maybe next time जब कमलेश बहन की यहाँ होगा उसमें. But there's a hidden message in it. I'd like to see how many catch it. But it is very obvious also. It is so in your face. It is, but it is hidden. It is very, very, very obvious, but it is totally hidden. And so is God. Right? It's like so in our face. सामने खड़ा है, just like him. बगल में है, पीछे है, साक्षी गोपाल. And yet so hidden, so far away. Don't know who he is and where he is and how he is, and yet cannot be without him. I cannot be without him. You cannot be without him. No one can be without him. So we'll pick that up next time. So this is interesting. God in God's words. This is the spoken word. Bhagwad Gita is the Hindu spoken word. It's spoken some more than 200 years ago. North or west. In the email I said northeast, but it's actually northwest of Delhi, Kurukshetra क्षेत्र में. So 140 verses later, है ना, भगवद गीता है 700 श्लोक आते हैं इसमें ना. तो ये भगवान को कोई जल्दी नहीं है अपने विषय में बात करने की. ये उतावला नहीं हुआ है. He's not anxious. You will see God is not anxious to talk about himself. He's not there to start tooting his own horn. So look, I'm God. When the time comes, he's not shy about it either. छाती ठोक के डंके की चोट पे कहेंगे, yes, of course, I am God. And I will hear about it the next year or two. There will be no doubt in any mind that pays attention that he is God. Who is God, right? Or how is God? Why is God? But at the same time, उसके मन में ये भी नहीं है, कमलेश में जल्दबाजी नहीं है भगवान के मन में कि चलो अपने विषय में बात करें, मैं भगवान हूँ, मैं ऐसे हूँ, मैं वैसा हूँ. आराम से बैठे हमारा शांत चित्त है. कोई क्या जल्दी है? जो भगवान ने तो जल्दी क्या है, right? If God is God, why would he feel rushed? Where is the rush? What's the problem? There can be no problem if God is God for him. And so 140 verses out of the 700, there is no mention of God. What kind of a strange scripture is this? What is this weird thing about Hinduism? We call this our greatest scripture. But 140 verses come and go, and there is no mention of God. Right? And then God starts talking about God. So तीसरे अध्याय में, I have that open in front of me, Karma Yoga, 3rd chapter. If it helps, I'm okay without it. Great. This is fine. So तीसरे अध्याय में कर्म योग में 22वें श्लोक में he very gently and very casually, बड़ी सहजता से, बिल्कुल नॉर्मल स्थिति से अपनी ओर निर्देश करते हैं भगवान. He sort of indicates अपनी ओर कि मैं कौन हूँ. और that is also in a very glorious way. Name parthasti. I'm reading the 22nd shloka of the 3rd chapter. Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana. हे अर्जुन, मुझे इन तीनों लोकों में न तो कुछ कर्तव्य है और न कोई भी प्राप्त करने योग्य वस्तु अप्राप्त है, तो भी मैं कर्म में ही बढ़ता हूँ। जैसे हम लोग कई गीता योग में कहते हैं कि अगर 10 लोगों को इकट्ठा करते हैं, like if I took half of you and put you in a room with a flip chart and easel board, the other half in a different room, or all the men in one room, all the women in room, all the children in another room, and I said, okay, take 20 minutes. 20 minutes, just think about Bhagwan ke different qualities. How do you think God is? Right? If I put Christians with Hindus and Muslims and Jews, they all together, it doesn't matter. God is God. And I asked you to describe God. Whatever your image of God is, whatever you think God is like, है ना? भगवान कैसे होगा? अगर मैंने पूछा, right? Like you listening? मैं कहा कि भगवान की क्या व्याख्या होगी? दिखता होगा कैसे? दिखता होगा या न दिखता होगा? Do you think you might be able to see? I'm not asking you, I'm just right. Or are you able to see God or not able to see God? Is he tall? Is he short? Is he kind? Is he mean? Is he a master? Is he a ruler? Is he oppressor? Or is he very gentle? Is he very loving? Is he a well-wisher? Or is he like just punishing or rewarding? Like, how do you think, Sunny? If I said, like, go to your heart, leave the Christianity, the Hinduism, the Buddhism aside. We're not talking about that. We're talking about God, not religion, right? Leave religion out. We're talking about Sanatana Dharma. Right? We're talking about the original, inherent, intrinsic nature, our nature as it is. So मैं हिंदू के विषय में बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, है ना? भगवान को कैसे होगा? बच्चे को भी पूछे अगर, जैसे 3-4 साल के बच्चे होते हैं, they've heard of God. He said, what do you think God is like? So the point I'm trying to make is like, when you all come back after 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you'll almost have the same things. Almost have the same things, like totally different groups, totally different religions, totally different gender, race, ethnicity, skin color, all that. But when you come back, like pretty much what will appear on your list, like God is like, those are the things that will be very common to you, right? So one of the things, very casually, nonchalantly, God starts addressing himself. Name parthasti kinchit trishu lokeshu kinchana. You know, Arjun, he says, there's nothing in this cosmos, in this universe, that's really worthy of me. All this matter, this material, is sare sansar ko ikattha kar de. This is like trash. What's not even what trash for me? There's nothing worthy of me. His greatness surpasses. Itna mahan hai Bhagwan. कि ये कोई estate property, पृथ्वी, स्वर्ग, नरक, all of this means nothing. और मेरे लिए कुछ कर्तव्य भी नहीं है. ऐसा कुछ नहीं कि मेरी ड्यूटी है या God should do this, God should not do this. There's nothing like that. Like there's no binding rules. No rule can bind God. I think you all will come up with it. If you were given 10 more minutes, go back and think about God 10 more minutes. 10 minutes अपने मन में भगवान के विषय में विचार करो. तो आप कहोगे कि भगवान सबसे ऊपर है, उसको कोई बांध नहीं सकता, उसका कोई कर्तव्य नहीं, वो करे तो ठीक, ना करे तो ठीक, जो करे वो ठीक, जो ना करे वो ना ठीक, right? By definition, if I ask you to define God, by definition God would have to be like that, right? उसका कोई कर्तव्य नहीं, उसको कुछ बांधने वाला नहीं है, और उसके लायक भी कोई वस्तु नहीं है. And you say there's nothing in the world that's worthy of me, but still I work, still I do what is there to do, what is the right thing to do, and I still perform my duty. I'm still dutiful. That is why it's so beautiful, right? God is saying that, look, I don't have to do anything. Why worry? It's all good. भगवान की सृष्टि में बैठे. नमे पार्थास्तु कर्तव्यम त्रिषु लोकेषु किंचन. So there is nothing in heaven or hell or on this planet, in this world, that's worthy of me, that I have to do. No one can compel me to do something. Yeah, भगवान है ऐसी कोई, there's nothing like it, ये इसको तो ये करना ही चाहिए, इसको करना ही पड़ेगा. Because with sankalpa matra se, just by his thoughts alone, he can raise or demolish worlds. So, and yet you see in our scripture, so we're talking about there's some Hindu context to this. And so you might feel like you're losing some portions of it. There's some stories behind it. I may not have the time to go into the details of it. But we remember like when in Krishna avatar, वो करते हुए भूमि से करते थे घोड़ा गाड़ी करते थे गोपियों का जो भी you have all heard about it, all the work that he performed, whether when he came as Ram in that incarnation or in the incarnation as Krishna or any others that you can think of. So there's nothing worthy of it, and yet he's like the most beautiful that we can think of, that we can imagine, right? मुझे इन तीनों लोकों में न तो कुछ कर्तव्य है, न कोई भी प्राप्त करने योग्य वस्तु अप्राप्त है. I think there is nothing in the cosmos that if I desired, if I wanted, that I couldn't have just by wishing for it. But if I asked you to define God, you would say, well, he can have what he wants just by wishing it, right? One of the qualities of God would be, well, he's the king of kings, he's the big guy, he's the ruler, he's the main man, right? He can have what he wants to have just by wishing. He doesn't have to work. He doesn't have to run a store. He doesn't have to go to office. He has no commute. He doesn't have to do any of it to have what he wants to have. Again, right? In other words, he can have what he wants to have just by wishing. And on top of that, he's saying there is nothing worthy of him either. ऐसा नहीं है कि खाली ये चाहिए वो चाहिए वो चाहिए, उसके लायक ही कोई बात नहीं. भगवान खुद ही अपने मुंह से सामने से कह रहे हैं कि मेरे लायक भी कोई वस्तु नहीं है, और अगर कुछ लायक होती भी मेरे लायक यहाँ पर, तो ऐसी बात तो नहीं थी अर्जुन कि मैं चाहूँ और न मिले मुझे, है ना? भगवान को जिस किसी रूप में भगवान को मानते हो, शिव रूप में, अम्बा रूप में, गुरु रूप में, कृष्ण रूप में, मैं कृष्ण रूप में मानता हूँ, जस्ट टू बी क्लियर अबाउट इट. लेकिन अगर उसको प्राप्त करनी थी, अगर भगवान है तो प्राप्त कर सकते थे ना. ही वुड नॉट हैव टू डू एनीथिंग, एंड येट ही indulge in work, yet he works. So what's the big deal about that? Why does he start with this? Because we're in karma yoga, right? We're talking about karma, law of karma. This is the chapter about the third chapter we're starting in, which is karma. How do you achieve union with God through your work? By performing the work that you're performing. How is it connected? Is there a connection with the work that we have to perform and actually the realization, God realization? Are those completely disconnected, or are those completely united, or are they kind of connected? Right? That's kind of what he starts to shed light on, with the premise essentially that you meaning we, us, that it is possible to experience God through work. One of the paths, one of the ways, by following the laws of karma, right? कर्म योग की विधि से भगवान का अनुभव हो सकता है. ऐसा नहीं कहीं कहा कि oh, you'll have to stop working and you'll just have to find your cave in the Himalayas and then you'll have to meditate. Only then you will find God. Not so. Right? He's saying not so. You can actually experience God by being very, very dutiful, by being very committed to that which has been put around you. The children that are put around you, the family that you have, the work that you have, the store that you have, the house that you have, while fulfilling all our duties, it is possible to experience God. In fact, that should be later on he says, that should be the aim of all work. Sare karma ka sarva karma cha akhilam partha jnanena parisamapyate. Later on in the chapter he says, in fact, Arjun, that should be the purpose, that should be the point of all work. Otherwise, what's the point of work? Why work like a dog? Why work like a donkey? If we are humans, if we are intelligent beings, what did we really achieve if all we did every day was went to our work or your store, did what we do there, came back home, ate, slept, drank, again started, time to make donuts again, ahar, nidra, bhaya, maitun. While doing all of this, you got to get out and get the main thing, main goal. Bhagwan ka anubhav karna jaruri hai. Think about it. Otherwise, there is no difference between living like an animal and living like a human. We have the ability. Really, the main difference between animals and humans, right? प्राणियों में प्राणी भी काम करते हैं, कुत्ते भी काम करते हैं उनकी दृष्टि से, और हम लोग भी काम करते हैं, right? The main difference is the ability to think and change the direction, purpose. Like dogs when they run around in the street, or the donkeys when they carry the bricks, yeah, hathi, elephants when they move the logs, birds when they fly, they have no purpose. There is no purpose. उद्देश्य कुछ नहीं उनके जीवन में. जो पंछी इधर से उधर घूमते, उधर इस टहनी से उस टहनी पे, उसके पीछे क्या उद्देश्य होता है? There is no purpose in any other life other than the human life. And if as a human we did not identify our purpose, then how much more glorious are we than the monkeys perhaps walking on? Maybe that's what Darwin meant. I don't think so, but could be that's how we can accept his theory, right? No, think about it seriously. If agar जीवन में उद्देश्य नहीं हुआ, I will not let go, I will not move forward until this sinks in. Like प्राणियों में, I'll say it in Hindi and I'll say it in English, right? प्राणी जो है अलग अलग प्रकार के 84 लाख योनियों के प्राणी, पक्षी, पंछी, मछली, जो भी कर्म कर रहे हैं वो pre-programmed है. Well, the dog knows what to eat, what not to eat. Dog doesn't eat grass, most usually, right? A tiger knows what to eat, what not to eat, where to go for hunting, when to do, what to do, where to live. Every species, every bird, every fish, every animal has been pre-programmed, like coded already. They don't need to have a purpose in life. And they don't know what purpose means. And they don't have a purpose other than to exist and live like they've been programmed. Right? है ना? कितने भी कुत्ते को कितने भी सोफा सेट पे बिठाओ, कितने भी एयर कंडीशनर में बिठाओ, कितनी भी गाड़ियों में घुमाओ, फिर भी कुत्ता जैसा है वैसा मर जाएगा. This is very important. I will not let go until this sinks in. इसलिए until I get your attention, until I feel like सब लोग समझ रहे इस बात को, एक ही बात 1.5 घंटे में एक ही बात चलेगी otherwise. So I need your help to move forward. प्राणियों में और मनुष्यों में एक ही फर्क है, मेन फर्क. सबसे बड़ा, सबसे कीमती फर्क, most valuable, most precious difference. Why are we as humans more precious than other animals? The main diamond, the biggest difference is that we can have a purpose in our life. We can think or we can imagine, we can then drive towards that. कि किस लिए जी रहे? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Right? ये सारा ये घर क्यों बना रहे हैं? गाड़ियाँ क्यों खरीद रहे हैं? ये खाना पीना इतने व्यंजन क्यों बना रहे हैं? Why am I celebrating the birthday? Why are we driving 2 hours one way and then 2 hours back to have this? What is going on? Why are we doing any of this? Like I said before, when God opens his mouth, I've said this before, but you may have forgotten, so I'll say it again. When God opens his mouth, the first word that comes out of his mouth in the Gita is kutastva. Like, why? So don't blame the baby when it's like, why? बच्चे परेशान कर देते हैं ना? That's perhaps because by design, like even God, when he's opened his mouth, his first question is why? Right? Kutastva kashmalamidam. These sinful acts, right? Like, why are you talking like a coward? What is the purpose? In other words, he's prodding us. God is prodding us in the Gita to identify our purpose. Like, what are we doing here? Why are we here? What for? Why am I doing what I'm doing? So then he turns around and says, like, for me, God, there actually is no reason. He doesn't have to have a purpose, being God. And yet he still does. Later on he says, because I'm the role model. Because ultimately everybody models after me. है ना? जैसे मैं करूँ वैसे ही सारे लोग करते हैं. श्रेष्ठ जो यद यद आचरति श्रेष्ठ. जैसा जैसा हमसे बड़ा जो कोई भी हो, right? We follow those who are bigger than us. We follow those who are superior than us. Celebrities, for example. Like children follow their fathers, their mothers. And they feel like this is cool. This, like my mom does it this way, therefore I do it this way. The little girl says, oh, this is how my dad does it, and therefore that's how they learn. Later on they leave it, right? But they learn by following their parents because there is a role model. And so God being the biggest and the greatest and सबसे ऊपर होने से, he himself admits that ultimately everybody follows me as the role model. And if I stop working if I didn't do what must be done, then everybody will be like, it's okay, नहीं काम नहीं किया तो भी कोई बात नहीं, कोई कर्म करने की कोई जरूरत नहीं, बैठे रहे अपने घर में ऐसे ही बैठे रहे. इसलिए वो so he was letting in on secret कि why am I always working. कृष्ण अवतार में सुबह से ब्रह्म मुहूर्त से उठते थे तो रात को सोते थे. Like he would be the first one to rise. लेकिन द्वारिका also, right? He would सबसे पहले उठता था भगवान, उठ के बैठते ध्यान के लिए. ध्यानावस्थित तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यम योगिनः. भागवत में श्लोक आता है, नॉट इन द गीता बट भागवत में. ध्यान की अवस्था में राम जी भी अवतार में आते थे, सबसे पहले उठ जाते थे ना. तो और सबसे आखिरी में सोने वालों में भी सारे सब काम होने के बाद में, फिर भी इवन व्हाइल स्लीपिंग मेडिटेटिंग बिफोर स्लीपिंग एंड मेडिटेटिंग एज सून एज ही वुड गेट अप. सो काम करने के लिए तो काम कुछ नहीं, भगवान ने जो करना है वो संकल्प मात्र से कर सकते हैं. लेटर ऑन ही सेज एक्चुअली दैट the whole creation, the whole cosmos is formed just out of my thoughts. I think, therefore it is. मद भावा मानसा जाता. ये मेरे मन से उत्पन्न हुए भाव जो है, जैसा जैसा मैंने सोचा वैसे वैसे सृष्टि निर्माण हुई. विष्णु पुराण में भी आता है, यहाँ पर भगवत गीता में भी आता है, 10वें अध्याय 11वें अध्याय विभूति योग 10th chapter 11th chapter विश्व रूप दर्शन योग. As I think so it happens. The cosmos is created out of my image, like the way I would think about it. Similar to a dreamer, dreaming. Like when we're asleep, when we dream, those are our own inner thoughts. That's our own imagination. And the whole entire creation is created in our dream. In our dream, I see the mountains and the birds and the men and the women and all of that. Where did they come from? Kahan se aaye? I just created them out of my own thoughts. Right? So, आगे कहते हैं कि क्योंकि हे पार्थ, यदि कदाचित मैं सावधान होकर कर्मों में न बरतूं तो बड़ी हानि हो जाए, क्योंकि मनुष्य सब प्रकार से मेरे ही मार्ग का अनुसरण करते हैं. इसलिए यदि मैं कर्म न करूं तो ये सब मनुष्य नष्ट भ्रष्ट हो जाए और मैं संकर्ता का करने वाला हो तथा इस समस्त प्रजा को नष्ट करने वाला बनूं. So the second thing we see about God is like he holds himself accountable. मैं संकर्ता का प्रजा का नष्ट भ्रष्ट करने वाला. He's holding himself accountable. So accountability is the next quality that we hear from God about God. Right? So the first thing we heard was that he's always engaged, very engaged. That's the way to think about it. He's very engaged. Engaged मतलब ऐसे ही कम छोड़ नहीं दिया. कोई काम नहीं बन रहा है, कोई नहीं कर रहा है तो frustrated होके छोड़ दिया. Yeah, do whatever you want. I don't care. ऐसा नहीं किया भगवान ने कभी. Never said I don't care. I do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Like I'm frustrated. I'm desperate. Gusta ऐसा नहीं. Like always engaged. You understand engaged, right? And like in its real meaning of it. Like really engaged. God is engaging. It's in fact so much engaging that he's beating our hearts. Like he's engaged with me right now. At this moment, God is engaged with me. He's engaged with you. You could not be alive if he disengaged from you. What do? The one moment he disengages, we take this body to burn or bury. As soon as God disengages. Right? Very engaged. Not one moment without engaging. So there is a lesson for me here. There may be a lesson for you also, that anytime we feel like disengaging, whether it is about the store that's not running well, or the wife that doesn't listen, or the children, or whatever it is, the solution is never to disengage, right? That is the last thing you want to do. In fact, that is not the thing that you want to do. छोड़ना नहीं है. जो लिया अपना कर्तव्य जो लिया है, जो हमारा कर्म है, उसको छोड़ के भागना नहीं है. So look, this is not a devotional scripture just for your context. This is a very practical, like how do you put into practice into your daily life whatever is written about it. So the lesson for me is that I cannot give up. I cannot quit. I cannot disengage. I must remain engaged with full enthusiasm, right? प्रेम पूर्वक. और मेरे बच्चों के जीवन में, एक दूसरे के जीवन में, पड़ोसियों के जीवन में, जो भी भगवान ने हमारे अराउंड रखे हैं, जिनके साथ हमारी जिंदगी जुड़ी हुई है, right? Naturally connected जिनके साथ है. You have to keep engaged with them. And the second thing we just heard was accountability. We have to hold ourselves accountable. मतलब भगवान जिम्मेदारी लेते हैं इसकी कि अर्जुन मेरे को काम करने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है, वो कह रहे तो मैं सोचूं और काम हो जाए मेरा, राइट। अगर भगवान की परिभाषा करने लग जाए लिखे तो भगवान सोचे और हो जाए काम उसका। लेकिन मैं फिर भी हम लाइक एनिमेटेड, वो इधर से उधर जाता है, इस बर्तन को उठा के उधर रखता है, इसमें ढक्कन रखता है, फिर किसी के जूतल उतारता है, द्रौपदी के जूते उठा के अपने पल्लू में डालता है, इधर से उसको तो क्या जादू जैसा सब काम कर रहा है। लेकिन यू सी हिम एनिमेटिंग हिमसेल्फ like as if he's like a normal ordinary man. He's doing everything that like an ordinary man, because he takes accountability, suggesting that if he stopped doing that, अगर वो न करे तो लोग क्या करे, वो तो कृष्ण भगवान अगर नहीं करे तो अपने क्या करना है, उल्टा उल्टा हो जाए, राइट। उसके जो करना चाहता है उसके उल्टा है कि people might say, oh, if God doesn't have to work, why do I have to work? I'll just sit, become a couch potato, a lazy bum, whatever. It'll be a really bad attitude spreading everywhere. Because you know what? My God never worked, therefore I don't have to work. So that doesn't happen. You always see him working. हमारे शास्त्र में जो आता है, भगवान राम भी वनवास में भी गए तो he's always walking. दिन में हमेशा चलते रहते थे, थोड़े समय के लिए रुकते, कहीं पर पेड़ के नीचे छाव के नीचे बैठ जाते थे। लक्ष्मण जो भगवान का अंश अवतार ही थे, राइट, फिर उनकी चरण चंपी करते, पानी पिलाने के लिए ठंडा पानी कहीं से ले आते, फिर से चलने चलते थे। यू नेवर सी हिम विदाउट एक्शन। ध्यान भी कर रहे तो वो भी एक्शन हो गए, सुबह भी शाम के समय भी, always engage in the well-being of others, unselfishly engaged. That's the third thing you will hear about her at some point, that there's nothing that he does for himself. Why? Because पहले ही उसने कहा, there's nothing that he needs. By definition, that God would not be God if he actually needed something, right? If he needed something, then how would he be God? भगवान अगर सबसे बड़ा हो, जिसको सब प्राप्त हो, उसको कोई आवश्यकता नहीं है, तो फिर भी क्यों काम किया जा रहा है? निस्वार्थ है ना, अनसेल्फिश, दूसरों की भलाई के लिए, for the well-being of others. So with no personal motive, all the work that he performs, अपने personal motive से नहीं हो रहा है. So I know these sound like बड़े फंडे, bombastic principles, but my hope is that इसमें से अपनी सूक्ष्म बात अपनी उठा ले कोई, है ना, कि दूसरों की in reality, जैसे भगवान actually doesn't need anything. The truth of the matter is, so are we. We actually don't need anything. In the sense that whatever we need has already been provided. There will never be a time that we wouldn't have what we need if we were established in our own Godhead, in our Godness, right, in that quality. So, second was the accountability. And I'm not keeping account. I'm just going naturally as the shlokas are coming. So the question कि हम अपने आप को कितना जिम्मेदार समझते जो भी हो रहा है उसके लिए, क्योंकि भगवान ने फिर से कह दिया कि सारी वर्ण संकर नाश हो, मतलब contamination, वर्ण संकर, contamination of the rules and the regulations, there will be anarchy essentially, नष्ट भ्रष्ट हो जाए, कोई भी कुछ भी करने लग जाए, कोई धर्म न रह जाए, धर्म भ्रष्ट हो जाए, कोई नियम न रह जाए, कोई किसी बात को न माने, जिसको जो करना है वो करने लग जाए. जस्ट इमेजिन अगर यहाँ पे जिसको जो लगे वो अगर करने लग जाए आज, राइट, टुडे पीपल जस्ट स्टार्टेड टू एक्ट द वे दे वांट टू एक्ट, डू व्हाट दे वांट टू डू, टॉक द वे व्हाट दे वांट टू टॉक, very soon, or in fact we are going in that direction, right, very soon it will be really totally ruined, like the whole environment will be very unwholesome, very unsavory, and we would not be able to live peacefully in the world if everybody did what they wanted to do. So there is a set of rules and regulations, and a religion being a set of rules, of moral codes. Therefore, there is some sanity kept in this. And so God is suggesting that if he stopped, if he disengaged, people will just do whatever they want to do, and he said, I will be responsible for it. ये नहीं कहा कि तुम्हारी जिम्मेदारी होगी, तुम गधे हो, तुम नालायक हो, तुम बेवकूफ हो, like all of it. The head of the household, right? This is a lesson for us. The head of the household must take it upon himself. जो मेन आदमी वो अपने सिर पर ले रहा है बोझा, भगवान कह रहा है ये सर्वनाश जो होगा इसके लिए मैं जिम्मेदार होगा. उसने ये नहीं कहा कि दुर्योधन जिम्मेदार होगा, भीष्म पितामह ने नहीं करना चाहते वो जिम्मेदार है, धृतराष्ट्र अंधा हुआ उसकी जिम्मेदारी है. भगवान कह रहे मैं जिम्मेदार हूँ इन सब के लिए. Why? Because he can change it, he can control it. ऐसे ही the head of the household. So for my household, I am responsible if things go wrong. Things can go wrong if I disengage. If I disengage, then that's my responsibility. है ना? अगर मैं अपने घर की ओर ध्यान देना छोड़ दूँ, कान्हा को जो करना है करने दो, जैसे करना है करने दो, कोई कुछ नहीं, मोहिनी को कुछ जरूरत है उसकी ओर ध्यान नहीं दे रहा, अपनी धुन में मस्त हो, अगर डिसएंगेज हो जाओ, और फिर गड़बड़ अगर हो जाती है, कुछ किसी का एक्सीडेंट हो जाता है, कोई बिगड़ जाता है, बच्चा ड्रग्स लेने लग जाता है, जो भी, तो जिम्मेदारी अंत में आई शुड रियलाइज दैट आई मेड मिस्टेक, आई डिसएंगेज्ड, दिस इज माय accountability. So again and again I'm pointing to us, right, that towards us, that we have to make sure that it is our accountability to keep. जैसे भगवान ने सारे सृष्टि को संभाल के रखा है, वैसे हम अपनी छोटी छोटी सृष्टि को संभाल के रखने की जरूरत है. So disengagement is not for the followers of the Gita. If we are thinking of disengaging, if we disengage, then this is blasphemy. This is ये नाटक नौटंकी है फिर, कि अपने एंगेज नहीं छोड़ रहे, अपने छोड़ दे रहे जो भी जैसे, और यहाँ पे कह रहे कि ना 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 ऐसे, ये अकाउंटेबल, अपने आप को अगर जिम्मेदार नहीं समझ रहे तो फिर ये उससे प्राप्ति नहीं होगी. ये बातें why are these important? Because these are the pieces of the puzzle, right? When the different pieces of the puzzle come together, then you see the whole picture. So भगवान अचानक नहीं दिखने वाला. ये सब कुछ करना नहीं है, खाली भगवान दिख जाए, ऐसा होगा ही नहीं, होता ही नहीं है. This is how we progress towards God. This is a very practical, very pragmatic, very real, very tangible way to go towards God. First, being dutiful. The email that I sent, there was a 2-slide PowerPoint in it. When you get a chance to look to it, it describes the path of a sadhak to a siddha. छठे अध्याय में जो ईमेल भेजी थी ना, उसमें एक अटैचमेंट थी. अंकुश अनुज को पूछ करके इसको डबल क्लिक करे तो वो खुलेगा. इसमें 2 पन्ने हैं. आपके यहाँ जब होगा गीता तो मैं उसके प्रिंट आउट लेके आऊँगा, तो उसके साथ हम लोग बातें करेंगे. So that describes भगवद गीता 6th chapter के आधार पर कि साधक के फंडामेंटल प्रिंसिपल्स क्या है. Those who are walking on this path, the spiritual aspirants, those who are seeking the experience of God, those who desire union with God, those who want God, right? That's on one end. And the second is siddha. Sadhak hota hai, siddha hota hai. Those who have accomplished it, those who are in God, those who are living in God, those who are united with God, those who walk and talk as if God is with them the whole time, right? Siddha ke lakshan hote hain. So Sunny, you might know Venn diagram, like there's, right, the 3 circles, that whatever is common in the 3 of them, I know you know it. That's where the essence is. So we'll go over it the next time, but I'll give you a clue into it. So sadhak and aspirant spiritual seeker के लक्षण भगवद गीता के आधार पर पहला, does anyone remember? We talked about this before. पहला है धर्मनिष्ठ. This is my interpretation of it. This is not in any scripture, so it has limited value because it's not as authentic. This is not being written in any scripture. So this is a disclaimer. This is my personal interpretation. So take it for what it's worth. This is not the gospel. It's not how it is written in the Gita. But I felt it. I have experienced it. And I think if you pay attention, if you study it, you will also. पहला धर्मनिष्ठ, which to us means ever dutiful. है ना, अपना जो कर्तव्य है, अपनी जो intrinsic quality है, that which has been bestowed upon you, जो मेरे लिए जो कर्म बांध के रखे है, माता का धर्म या बहन का धर्म या बेटी का धर्म, है ना, पत्नी का धर्म या पिता का, बाप का, whatever I'm supposed to do, my intrinsic, inherent qualities, उसके साथ allegiance हो, loyalty हो, uncontaminated, no adulteration, being very pure, trying to be that dharmanishta. दूसरा है शरणागत. So doing my duties, performing my duties while being God aligned with God's principles, है ना. जो शरणागत हो, शरणागत मतलब नाक रगड़ना नहीं, घुटने टेकना, नाक रगड़ना, तुम जैसा रखोगे वैसा ही होगा. Not that you're the oppressive ruler and I don't have a choice because I'm the oppressed, I'm the victim, and you're the almighty, therefore what choice do I have? I've got to do what you say. Not with that feeling. That is not what we call surrender, right? It is aligning ourselves. God has created this beautiful world. He has a nice, like really scientific, really elaborate, really sensible set of rules that keep the whole system together for millennia, billions of years. If the system is together, then there is some very basic fundamental laws that are keeping it together. So it is smart of me to align myself with him. जो भगवान के नियम हैं उस नियमों को लेकर के चले, है ना? अपनी हेकड़ी न रखे, अपने कोई नए कुछ न दुनिया न बनाए. So that's surrendering, शरणागत. So धर्मनिष्ठ शरणागत. What is the third one? Does anyone? अपेक्षा रहित आता है. So performing all of these without expectation free, right? Having no expectations from anyone. So sometimes we say, expect nothing, accept everything cheerfully. Yeah, that's kind of our mantra of the Gita, that expect nothing, अपेक्षा किसी के ना रखे कि मैंने इसकी इतनी सेवा करी, मैंने इसकी इतनी ट्यूशन भरी, मैंने इसको छोटे से बड़ा किया, इतना मैं यहाँ से यहाँ लाया, क्या नहीं किया इन लोगों के लिए, और ये देखो हमको कैसे ट्रीट कर रहे हैं. That's wrong. And in the moment we expect something from someone, it's going to go wrong, going to go down. Expectation will fail. When there is an expectation, right next to it is written failure. Right? Adhyatmic, spiritual failure. The moment there is an expectation for reward or some return, like that's like doomed to fail. So we have to remain expectation free, free of expectation. Do what you have to do without any expectation. Don't do what you're doing with some expectation. शुरू में भी नहीं, बाद में भी नहीं. कर्म करने के बाद फिर ऐसा होगा वैसा होगा भी नहीं. But yet you have to do what you have to do, and you must do what you should do. But you must never have any expectation. So it's a brutal rule, a little bit, it's difficult. So धर्मनिष्ठ, पहली बार, इसको याद करना होगा कभी. धर्मनिष्ठ, शरणागत और अपेक्षा रहित. ये तीन के बीच में साधक रहता है. ये तीन जहाँ मिलते हैं, तीन अगर मैंने सर्कल ड्रा किए, ये तीन एक दूसरे के अराउंड जाते हैं, तीन जहाँ मिलते हैं, वो चित्र में देखोगे, ईमेल में है, ये तीन जहाँ मिलते हैं उसमें साधक रहता है. अपने आप को हम लोग अगर साधक 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 कहते हैं, हम सीकर, मैं बापू जी का साधक हूँ, मैं भगवान को मानता हूँ, इतने सालों से हम आश्रम में जा रहे हैं, 1000 सत्संग सुन लिए, माला तो कितने लाखों माला कर ली, सब तीर्थ यात्रा हो गई, तो यहाँ से प्रसाद हो गया, दान पुण्य कर गया, कुछ नहीं हुआ. झक हमारी अगर ये तीन में नहीं रह रहे, काहेगा साधक, खड्डे का साधक. कोई साधक वाधक नहीं. नाटक, बिल्कुल ड्रामा. That is not sadhak according to the Gita. That is not the seeker according to my God, according to my religion, my scripture. One who has expectations from others is not a seeker. One who is not God aligned is not a seeker. And one who is not dutiful, not performing the duties faithfully, is not a seeker. So these are the fundamental principles. So like by avoiding these, there's no talk of seeking the truth. अनिवार्य शर्त भैया है ये तीन तो. In fact, like अनिवार्य, लेकिन इनमें भगवान भी है. In the next slide we'll see in that. So again, dharmanishta, identify what your dharma is. I'm not talking about Hinduism as a dharma. I'm not like your dharma, who you are. So Sani dharma really means like your intrinsic nature, your inherent quality, like you inside, the real guy, right? Not this, right? But इसकी inherent quality क्या है, intrinsic quality क्या है, the सच्चिदानंद स्वरूप जिसे कहते हैं, the constantly, the always exist, ever existing, the ever conscious and the ever blissful nature, उस धर्म के साथ जो निष्ठ हो. और अगर भगवान के नियमों के साथ अगर अलाइन, जो भगवान को मानता ही नहीं हो, तो then तो दूर की बात है. If for an atheist, if God doesn't even exist, then what is the question of God's rules? So obviously then that's not a seeker, right? So God aligned, Sharanagat, Bhagavan ki Sharanagati means just accepting whatever is happening in my life, accepting it as divine, like this, trusting that this is good for me. I'm sure there is a lesson here for me. I'm sure this is happening for a reason. I'm sure this is happening to make me a bigger man, a better person. So again, dharmanishta, right? अपने कर्तव्य तत्पर. Second is शरणागत, गौरव. तीसरा अपेक्षा रहित. बिल्कुल ही बुरी बात है अपेक्षा अगर हो. That's like rotting the core. जिसके मन में अपेक्षा हो. This is the worm in the apple. The expectation, yeah, that's right. Expectation is the worm in the apple. It will rot the fruit. One fruit rot and the whole basket is gone. It's a matter of time. So no expectation. That's not for us. Otherwise, बिल्कुल ये चापलूसी बेईमानी हो रही है. अपने आप के साथ, we're fooling ourselves. If we call ourselves religious, if we call ourselves people of God, and yet we expect something from someone, then that's not going to work. You can have expectations all you want, but then you are leaving God aside. You're saying essentially to God, God, what? Smart, I want you, I want these expectations, fulfill my expectations. But if you're saying I want God, then you're saying no to expectations. Pick one or the other, not both. Right? So then we have free will, free choice. And that's God's greatness, that we've been given this freedom to pick what we want. So, ईश्वर के सिवा कहीं भी मन लगाया तो अंत में रोना ही पड़ेगा. Right? So अगर भगवान को ना कर दिया कि ना God, just stay back for a moment, like a few years, let me just fulfill my expectations. Come back later. Then रोना ही पड़ेगा. अपेक्षा में रोना ही पड़ेगा. हमेशा. So this is a little bit of a digression from the main topic. This is not. We were supposed to talk about God and God's words. So that's one. But the thing about that is aligning with God. The second slide describes the state of a siddha, the one who has walked through these circles again and again and again and again in practice, and has finally accomplished, become a siddha. So what these three circles are replaced by three different sort of higher level circles. They are related, but of a different magnitude, different level. And so what are those in the next session, right? So we'll talk about those in the next session, like what कमलेश बहन किया जो सिद्ध की अवस्था कैसे होती है इन तीनों में. So and just to give you a teaser, so जैसे जहाँ पर अपेक्षा रहित है वहाँ पर ये छठे अध्याय में आता है ध्यान में संकल्प रहित हो जाता है. अपेक्षा भी तो तभी हो, right? Like when जहाँ पर consciousness of differentiation, someone separate, like I do something and then therefore you should do something for me. So there is this notion of duality that I exist and you exist. I did, therefore you do, right? The next state, the state of a siddha sankalparit, there is no even essentially super unattached is how I would describe it. कहीं अटक नहीं, कहीं खटक नहीं, कुछ विचार तक नहीं इस विषय में कि मैं हूँ, तुम हो, मैंने ऐसे किया, तुमने क्या कैसा किया. इस सारे नाटक से उठा हुआ होता है सिद्ध, है ना. दिमाग में भी नहीं उसके, वहाँ पर the head is not even there, thoughts में भी नहीं. संकल्प रहित, संकल्प तक नहीं है. खाली अपेक्षा तो दूर की, अपेक्षा is an after effect. अपेक्षा बाद में आती है ना. संकल्प तक नहीं है, संकल्प रहित हो गए. और जहाँ पर गॉड अलाइंड है, जो वहाँ पर ईश्वर प्रेम उसकी जगह पे प्रेम में स्थित हो जाते हैं. जैसे पहले कहा धर्मनिष्ठ, फिर शरणागत. शरणागति में भी दो की भावना है कि मैं हूँ, मैं भगवान की शरण में हूँ, जैसे भगवान ने रखा वैसे रखेंगे. तो वहाँ पर प्रेम ही हो जाता है. शरणागत का conversion becomes a lover of God, not God aligned, but God loving, right? And then there is only love left, love of God. And then the third is just spontaneous purity, जो सहज स्थिति. So the three circles are वहाँ पर सहज स्थिति, ईश्वर प्रेम और संकल्प रहित. वो बाद की बात है. We'll talk about that more later. अभी हम लोग साधक है तो पहले धर्मनिष्ठ जीवन हमारा धर्मनिष्ठ हो. धर्म हमेशा क्योंकि यतो धर्म ततो कृष्ण, यतो कृष्ण ततो जय. कृष्ण वहीं पर मिलेगा, भगवान वहीं पर मिलेगा जहाँ पर धर्म की रक्षा हो रही है. हम अपने धर्म में चल रहे हैं. लेकिन धर्म मतलब हिंदू धर्म नहीं, अपना धर्म है ना. और जहाँ पर कृष्ण होगा वहीं पर विजय भी होगी। तो धर्मनिष्ठ जीवन हो, अपेक्षा रहित जीवन हो और शरणागत जीवन हो। There should always be a basis, a foundation for God. There should always be the pilot light should always be on, that I am grateful to God. Because God exists in my life, therefore I have all this. There should always be the realization. There should always be the consciousness. There should always be some link. We should never be without any link with God in whatever is happening. That's that God aligned. और दूसरा आता है उसकी जगह पे जो मैंने अभी डिस्क्राइब किया, अपेक्षा रहित की जगह पे संकल्प इतना फ्री हो जाए, सिद्ध, इतनी सहज स्थिति, spontaneously pure. Whatever action is done by the siddha, there is no motive behind. Whatever is done is just pure. Pure in the sense of uncontaminated, unmotivated. There is no personal thought of there. एकदम like very, very, that's सहज स्थिति, सहजावस्था, है ना। और दूसरी भगवत प्रेमी, जो भी हो रहा प्रेम ही प्रेम, प्रेम में भगवान के प्रेम, इन लव ऑफ गॉड। और तीसरी संकल्प रहित अवस्था हो गई कि it's just very casual, very normal, very easy, very naturally flowing life, constantly experiencing God, moment by moment by moment. That's the flow of God, consciousness. Constantly God is flowing through the consciousness. है ना, अगर भगवान constantly, अगर जैसे हम लोग हवा ले रहे हैं, अंदर हवा पीछे ऑक्सीजन ले रहे, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड डाल रहे, कहीं चाइना में गए तो और प्योर एयर आएगी, कहीं और गए तो हवाई में जाए तो और प्योर एयर आएगी। जो हमेशा भगवान ही अंदर जाए, भगवान ही बाहर आए। So at all times, manasa, vacha, karmana, उसके मन में भी, if we could dissect the mind and the thoughts, there's just purity, there's just uncontaminated thoughts constantly, है ना, शुद्ध विचार। Okay. वाणी से भी निकली, सहज अवस्था में निकलेगी, they will be just steeped in goodness and immersed in the love of God. So we will take that up next time, like at your home, that will be the topic, using those slides. So इसलिए भगवान ने कहा कि he holds himself accountable, so therefore we have to hold ourselves accountable as a role model as well. Should I stop here for a moment? Anyone have any thoughts they would like to add, contribute, suggest? Otherwise, I will keep going. So I am going to the 4th chapter next. Stop even here. And the reason is, again, we are only touching on those shlokas जहाँ पर भगवान अपने विषय में बात करते हैं. So now he holds no bars. Like 3rd chapter, like I said, 140 verses. I don't know, Sunny, if you were here when I said that. For the first 140 verses, which means 280 lines, each verse is 2 lines, he had made no reference himself. Zero. This is one man standing in the form of Krishna, another man standing in the form of Arjuna, 2 men just talking to each other. Just a conversation going on. Right? But this is the first time he says, casually, there's really nothing worthy of me. And there's nothing that I cannot have that if I wanted to have, but I'm still working. And the reason he said that is because you are trying to avoid your dharma. तुम युद्ध भूमि को छोड़कर भागना चाहते हैं ना? You're not willing to fight the war, and you're trying to run away from your duty. Look at me, he said. Am I running away? Do I have to do this fight? Do I have to fight this battle? I don't have to fight this battle. इसको तो मैं ऐसे चुटकी बजाओ तो ये सब खेल खत्म हो जाएगा. चुटकी भी बजाना तो कर्म हो गया. इतना तो करना पड़ेगा. संकल्प मात्र, है ना? लेकिन I'm mechanically going and doing all these things. Hari Om. So, but when as glorious as Krishna, एक बार उसने मुंह खोला तो फिर बंद नहीं होगा, है ना? So now he starts to talk about him. So then it totally takes off like a rocket. Like in the 4th chapter, in the beginning, he says, श्री भगवान बोले, I'll read it in Hindi. मैंने इस अविनाशी योग को सूर्य से कहा था. सूर्य ने अपने पुत्र वैवस्वत मनु से कहा, और मनु ने अपने पुत्र राजा इक्ष्वाकु से कहा. So this is God in his full glory. He's not shy. नहीं कोई शर्म, नहीं कोई इसके बच के कैसे कहूँ, संकोच नहीं है इसके इसके मन में कोई इस वाले के एक बार जो मुंह खुल गया तो फिर अपनी मर्यादा रखकर राम जी की नहीं नहीं मैं तो केवल दशरथ पुत्र राम हूँ, है ना, सेम सेम का है वहाँ पर कहता ना कहा आई एम नॉट गॉड, तो दशरथ का पुत्र राम हो, है ना। अभी यहाँ पे कह रहा है कि मैंने ही सूर्य को बनाया, मैंने ही सूर्य को ये कहा कि बार बार गधे लोग फिर से भूल जाते, फिर से मैं आके ऊपर उठाता इसको, है ना। ये तो शब्द मेरे हैं इसलिए सुंदर नहीं, लेकिन भगवान के तो एकदम fully announcing. Shelley, when we're talking about today's session, we started a new series today in Gita Yoga entitled God in God's Words. कि भगवत गीता में भगवान अपने लिए क्या कहते हैं, है ना, how does he describe himself, उनके कौन से गुण, कौन से कैसे, उनके विषय में उनके अपने विचार क्या है ना, ताकि हमारे लिए प्रेरणा हो. So we just completed in the 3rd chapter what he said about essentially about accountability, about not disengaging. Just to summarize for you, but summarize for everyone, God says, points to himself that I never disengage from my duties. I never quit, give up. I'm always engaged. And the second thing is that I also hold myself accountable for any distraction, for anything wrong that happens, because if I want, I can stop. I am God. I can stop it. I have the power. And therefore I'm very careful. Like I role model myself. He says everybody ultimately is following my role model. They look at me and they do as I do. Therefore, I hold myself accountable. So we're also moving to the 4th chapter. यहाँ पे वो एकदम ही बिंदास हो गया अभी ये भगवान कृष्ण. अभी 140 लाइन हुई तो उसने अपने विषय में कुछ नहीं कहा. For the first 140 verses. ये इसलिए बार बार क्लैरिफाई कर रहा है कि लोगों के मन में इसके विषय में गलत फहमी होती कि कहते कि वो तो एरोगेंट है, बहुत अपने विषय में बहुत बातें करता है, अपने आप को भगवान कहता है. But look, he only talked when the right time came, when he was really constantly again and again asked by Arjun. So once he starts, it's hard to stop him. That's God, right? You don't want to mess with him because once he starts, no one's going to be able to stop him. So that's how you would define God. है ना, अपने अपने कमरे में जाके लिख के भगवान के. तो अभी उसने मुंह खोला तभी कह रहा है कि ये जो योग की अभी जो परिभाषा हो रही है कि मैंने ही पहले सूर्य को बताई थी, इक्ष्वाकु वंश के प्रथम, सोर्स ऑफ इक्ष्वाकु. राम जी सूर्य वंश में इक्ष्वाकु वंश में आए थे. तो दिस इज व्हाट आई जस्ट रेड. हे परंतप अर्जुन, इस प्रकार परंपरा से प्राप्त इस योग को राजर्षियों ने जाना, किंतु उसके बाद यह योग बहुत काल से इस पृथ्वी लोक में लुप्त प्राय हो गया था. स एवायं मया तेद्य योग प्रोक्त पुरातनः भक्तोऽसि मे सखा चेति रहस्यम हेतमुत्तमम्. तू मेरा भक्त और प्रिय सखा है, इसलिए यह पुरातन योग आज मैंने तुझे कहा है, क्योंकि यह बड़ा ही उत्तम रहस्य है तथा गुप्त रखने योग्य विषय है. तो एकदम जैसे वो लाइक लग्जरी कार, स्पोर्ट्स कार की 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds, 4 seconds, like he suddenly goes from तू मेरा भक्त है, अगर एक कोई भक्त है तो दूसरा भगवान हो गया, right? सीधा obvious कि I am God. God is not hesitant to say I am God. Like even Jesus Christ had claimed, right? In any of the religions that whoever is God or the Son of God, who knows them to be so, are not hesitant and are not afraid to say and to claim the truth, assert the truth, that I am the way. If you follow me, you will. And he was right about that, 100% right. Like we accept. By the way, I should tell you that we accept Jesus as who he said he was. I accept Jesus as who he said he was, 100%. There's zero doubt in my mind. There's no doubt that he was who he said he was, Son of God, and the way to God, right? Totally. One of the greatest saints ever to walk on this planet. I absolutely love Jesus. And the more you read about him, the more humble I become, right? The more tearful I become, the more you know about him also. How he lived his life and what he said and how he preached and how he suggested. There's no way that he was not the Son of God when you read about it. Of course he was. There's no question about it. 100% authentic. No doubt about it. So, यहाँ पर भी हमारे भगवान ने कहा कि तू मेरा भक्त है, मेरा प्रिय सखा है. He just said, I am God. So beware. Like, no question. Like, for those who believe, again, we're either believers or non-believers. If we believe, then we have to believe all out. As you cannot compromise. You cannot say, I believe this much. I don't believe it. You either believe or you don't believe. There is the black and the white. अगर विश्वास है, श्रद्धा है, भगवान में भक्ति है, तो फिर भगवान को मानना पड़ेगा. भगवान को भगवान मानना पड़ेगा, राइट? भगवान को सबसे श्रेष्ठ मानना पड़ेगा. ये इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ, because it's somewhat irrelevant लगेगा, लेकिन बहुत confusion, but there's just too much chaos in heads. बहुत सुन लिया, बहुत सत्संग सुना, बहुत कुछ पढ़ लिया, इधर का उधर का उधर का उधर का, इस गुरु का उस गुरु का, इस संत का उस संत का, ये शास्त्र ये धर्म, इतना भर गया कि there's just so much filled in the head that we've lost the clarity about it. And the truth is very simple. Supposed to be very, very simple, because the truth is only one. One is simple. If I told you one thing to remember, you remember it. The problem happens when I tell you the second thing. And when I say the third thing, it's all gone. I don't even remember the first thing, right? But if there's only one, it would have to be simple. And if that one is the supreme and the almighty and the singular force, then there is no question about it. So that's why I'm saying that, look, question yourself, look within ourselves. Do we accept God as God? Or is there a doubt? Do we have some different gods? ये भी भगवान है, वो भी भगवान है, वो भी भगवान है. It's good and right to accept and respect everyone as bigger than us, better than us, greater than us. Keeps us humble, keeps us honest, all good and all right. But you'd have to accept God as one and only, and the final and the supreme. There cannot be many gods. Then we haven't defined God properly, right? And go back with your easel, board, flip chart. Think again, Bhagwan की अगर परिभाषा करनी, Bhagwan ultimate final God would have to be the final one. There cannot be, there would not be, there could not be someone who is like him, comparable to him, similar to him. No, I refuse to accept. If you want the full experience, please. And if you don't want to be tossed and turned, कि इतनी साधना कर रहे हैं लेकिन अभी अनुभव नहीं हो रहा है, इतना सब कुछ कर लिया लेकिन फिर भी जीवन में दुख है, ये नहीं हो रहा है, क्योंकि क्लैरिटी नहीं है दिमाग में, है ना, क्योंकि कमिट नहीं किया 100%. Full allegiance, fully haven't thrown ourselves on him in his lap saying, you are it, right? So we must accept God as God. God exists. Like with or without our acceptance, the truth is not going to change whether I accept it or not. The truth is the truth. So the question then becomes that of our clarity, our commitment, या फिर दिमाग में बहुत कचरा भर के रखा है सब मिला के, and then there is a lot of confusion caused by a lot of कचरा, है ना? So यहाँ पर I have accepted, I'll speak for myself, I have accepted Gita as my greatest scripture, right? My life breath. And I have accepted the one who speaks the Gita as God. That has made all the difference. I cannot tell you where that has led me. I'm not sure you'd be able to understand where I am if I were to describe it to you. So I am encouraging you to do that also. That to accept God as God and never compromise. No compromise. Be just so adamant about God, like completely. And see what happens. Right? You totally don't have to take my word for it. It would be stupid to take my word for it. Don't take my word for it. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just telling you my experience. But you should experience it through your own experience. Like, throw yourself on God. God, if he's God, at least you will prove that God does not exist. If he doesn't take care of you, throw yourself on God. Or leave everything to him, right? Leave everything to him and see what happens. अगर भगवान है तो होगा ठीक, नहीं तो कहेगा भगवान को भगा दो, है ना? We don't want any God. If he's not capable of taking care, if he's not able to fix things, then it's like, who wants that God? I don't want that God. My God is not like that. My God is able to take care of everything and everyone. He does. Right now he is. और इतना बिंदास है मेरा ग्वाला, सामने से कहते मैं भगवान हूँ. Do what you want to do. Like, my God just proclaims, I am God. go pound sand, do what you want to do, but I am God. God से यहाँ पर कह दिया कि तू मेरा भक्त है, मैं तेरा भगवान हूँ, है ना? इसलिए so तू मेरा भक्त और प्रिय सखा है, इसलिए यह पुरातन योग आज मैंने तुझे कहा. This is an ancient knowledge that I'm bringing तेरे लिए सामने कह रहा हूँ, एक के लिए. दूसरी भगवान की क्वालिटी देखो, we also talked about one of his qualities. He's not anxious. He's never anxious. We started with one of the qualities of God. The first thing we talked about was he's not anxious. Why do I say that? Because there were 1.8 million soldiers when he spoke this. There were 1.8 million people. But one was enough for him. He wasn't trying to arrange for a loudspeaker or like electrical plug or for a mic. Like, I want everyone to hear this. Like उनकी अपनी बढ़ती नहीं थी. That's like कितनों को सुनाई दे रहा है, नहीं सुनाई दे रहा है. He didn't care. It didn't matter. Arjun was the only guy, only person in front of him. That was enough for him. And also when he started to talk, he wasn't anxious to tell him that, oh, I am God, listen to me, please, listen to me, pay attention, I'm God. No, he's just cool-headed. The conversation is going on. And after on the 141st verse, when the right time comes, when it is very natural. That's the other thing about God. Why am I talking about God? Because we want to become, we want to emulate. We want to follow his role model. We want to understand his qualities. And if we're able to align ourselves like 1%, or 1% of 1%, then that is enough to have a completely blissful life, right? So he's not anxious about, very, very cool-headed, very natural. Like when you study the Gita quietly, इसके विषय में विचार करके शांत बैठ के, when you visualize, sometimes I visualize, envision Kurukshetra. Especially when you're actually in Kurukshetra, you should do that. It's awesome. कि अभी यहाँ पर इतने रथ है, इतने सेना है. It's mind-blowing. You can have the effect. और अपने घर में बैठे बैठे भी विजुअलाइज करते. क्यों नहीं? अपने बाप की ना दिमाग में सोचना है, सोच सकते. Nobody knows. कि बस इतना नेचुरल आराम से काम चलता है इनका. मतलब जब बराबर होगा, the right thing at the right time, no rushing. But when the time comes, unstoppable. No one can stop God. How can then we haven't defined God properly. If someone can stop God, whoever has stopped God then becomes a God. If someone could stop God, then that is the God. That's the God that I'm talking about, not this God who got stopped by someone else. I'm talking about the unstoppable force, God, right? So, look, very natural, very casual, very unpretentious. ये कोई अपनी इमेज की ज़्यादा चिंता करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है कि लोगों को क्या लगेगा, लोग क्या कहेंगे, क्या पहनूं, कैसे पहनूं. I mean, he was a role model. He did all that, but with or without, he was beautiful. He is, rather, I should say, with or without all the drama, all the dress and the costumes. The originally beautiful is always beautiful. It doesn't matter. And so are we. Because out of ignorance, we've thought of ourselves as the woman or the man or the old or the young. And so out of ignorance, if we operate and we live, we're going to have to बार-बार मेकअप लगाना पड़ेगा, बार-बार कपड़े अच्छे ढंग से, बार-बार आईने में देखना पड़ेगा, बार-बार सोचना पड़ेगा किसको क्या कैसे लगूंगी, कैसे लगेगा. We're decorating someone who we are not. So once we figure out who we are, then decorate करे ना करे, फटे पहने जो भी, beautiful is beautiful. Otherwise, it's not beautiful. है ना? That beautiful is natural. And that's another thing we learn from God also. उसकी जो सहजता है, the very, very natural thing, uncontaminated. The other thing was the unengaging, कभी नहीं हो लगा, ever engaged. जो भी परिस्थिति आए, जैसे भी व्यक्ति सामने रख दिए, जैसे भी परिस्थिति आए, जिस भी देश में, जिस भी काम में, गोपियाँ थी तो गोपियों के साथ एंगेज थे. बिल्कुल दमादम, मटकी फोड़ी, दही फेंका, क्या मंकीज को, बंदरों को खिलाया, क्या नहीं किया. इधर युद्ध भूमि में थे तो वहां पर भी धमाधम, है ना. कर्ण को मारना था तो कर्ण को मारे. उधर किसी संदीपनी ऋषि के आश्रम में गए तो वहां पर भी एंगेज. नेवर मोमेंट. यशोदा माता के साथ एंगेज. कंस के साथ भिड़ गए तो कैसे एंगेज हो गए? गुद्दों से मार दिया उसको, हाथों से मार डाला उसको, शस्त्र. So super engaged at all times also. तो यहाँ पे कहा कि he finally boldly declared that I am God. So then, naturally, then Arjun had a So we are in the 4th chapter, Gyan Karma Sannyas Yoga. So the next thing, so Arjun naturally asked him, wait, what are you talking about? Son, God, what's all this? Like, how did you instruct son? You were born a year and a half before I was, right? Like, how can it be that like we grew up together? There was like less than a year and a half difference between Krishna and Arjun. Right? तो ये कैसे हो गया कि मैंने सूर्य को बताया, ये बात बताई, सिखाई फिर से योग. So that's when God says the next thing about him. Again, today's topic is God and God's word. So bahuni me vetitani janmani tava Arjuna. Yes, Arjun, many births you and I have taken, but you have forgotten them all. I have forgotten them, none of them. I remember them all. And we've come together again and again. Every time, in every incarnation, I have come. Because I'm God, I always remain God. No matter what you dress up like, Sunny, it doesn't matter on Halloween you dress up like a scarecrow, or when you go for your interview, dress up in your suit, or at home you dress up like your mom hates it, right? However, but look, Sunny is Sunny. It doesn't matter what you dressed up as. है ना. ऐसे ही भगवान ने कहा कि अलग अलग रूपों में आए, अलग अलग समय में आए, अलग अलग बातें करी, लेकिन the truth is the truth. The original is the original. The real is the real. ऊपर से पहराव, no matter how fake, however it is, but the inside gold, right? Take gold for example. It doesn't matter किसी मैली थैली में रख दिया सोने को, या किसी चांदी के वारक में रख दिया, या जेब में रख दिया, डिब्बे में बंद कर दिया, कहीं भी रख दिया, पानी में फेंक दिया, सोना तो सोना है, उसकी उतनी कीमत है, उतना ही कीमती है. That's the original. Gold is gold. ऐसे ही भगवान ने कहा कि बहुनी में व्यतीतानि जन्मानि तव च अर्जुन. We have come many times, Arjun, like many births you have taken and I have taken. But you, Arjun, as in us, all right. He's also speaking to us through Arjun. At least we should imagine like that. But we have forgotten, and he has not, because this is an answer to Arjun's question. Okay, what do you mean you instructed son? How could you have instructed son, God, Ikshvaku, like billions of years ago? How could you have spoken this word? You're saying that you're speaking this again, that you've spoken this billions of years ago. But I remember you were born 15 months before I was born. That doesn't make any sense. And that's what he said. No, I'm not talking about this lifetime. I'm talking about the lifetime before this, and the one before this, and the one, and many lifetimes ago, many incarnations ago, right? So Hindi में कहा, श्री भगवान बोले, हे परंतप अर्जुन, मेरे और तेरे बहुत से जन्म हो चुके हैं. उन सबको तू नहीं जानता, किंतु मैं जानता हूँ. मैं अजन्मा और अविनाशी स्वरूप होते हुए भी अजो अपि सन्नव्ययात्मा भूतानाम ईश्वरोपि. This bold God, ये तो अभी ये बढ़ते जाएगा. इसकी बातें लगी. The way he started to describe himself is mind blowing. Now this God has become uncontrollable. Now it's gone beyond. The momentum has been caught. मैं अजन्मा और अविनाशी स्वरूप होते हुए भी तथा समस्त प्राणियों का ईश्वर होते हुए भी अपनी प्रकृति को अधीन करके अपनी योग माया से प्रकट होता हो. Now this is the full form of God. So this is the full form of God as he's starting to describe. So this is in the 4th chapter, but when we get to the 15th chapter, how are you? Purushottam Yoga, 15th adhyaya, right? Like the best, Purushottam is the best man. How do you unite with the best man? God is the best man, right? All others, not all that. What's that? Yeah. So, in fact, this continues to transcend. Like there is a crescendo that starts from here when God starts to describe himself, off and on. So much so that towards the end of the 15th chapter, he says that, all there is to be known, whatever there is to be known, I'm the best of them all, the greatest. There's nothing beyond knowing me. This is God saying. And in fact, what you use, the gyan, the knowledge itself, Vedoham Samatitani, all the Vedas, all the knowledge combined together, added, I created it. I am that. And I created it so that you would know me. So he said, that which is to be known is me. That which is being used to know, the process, the knowledge is me. But the creator of it all is also me. Which means it's like completely tied. Now there can be nothing beyond me. This is God saying, right? That all of it is me. Talk about modesty. But God, being God, has no need to be modest, because at some point the truth has to come out, है ना? कि ये शिष्टाचार की अपनी मर्यादा होती है. कब तक संभाल के बोले. जब सत्य एक बार प्रकट हो जाए, तो फिर भगवान को कहना ही पड़े कि मैं भगवान हूँ. और अगर भगवान हूँ कह दिया तो फिर क्या बाकी रहा, है ना? भगवान से और बढ़कर तो कुछ हो नहीं सकता. अगर है कुछ भगवान से बढ़कर कुछ है, अगर कोई दूसरा व्यक्ति है भगवान से बढ़कर, तो फिर वो भगवान है, right? If someone else is greater than God, then that is God. We'll accept that, him. And he said, I am that. So, मेरे और तेरे बहुत से जन्म हो चुके हैं, उन सबको तू नहीं जानता, मैं उन सबको जानता हूँ. So our system is reset, right? When we die, well, for Hindus, when we're born or the bodies are born, it's reset. That little, उसमें पिन डाल के reset हो जाती system. So when we came back again in the human form, I don't remember anything from my past, but who I was, what I was, how I was, thankfully. You know? Otherwise there would be such a mess, such a confusion, and basically would be no way to get out of it. So because we cannot handle, and merciful God resets it every time. So because he can handle, he doesn't have to reset himself. You know? He can handle it. Because for him this is only like a dream. In fact, for him this is a dream. And this is his dream. And it's not a dream like our dream where we don't have any control over it. We get carried by it. It's ऐसा सपना जो पूर्ण नियंत्रित है, the controller of the dream. He's dreaming with full control on it as well. So therefore there is no insecurity, there is no fear of any kind of loss. There is no concern. He's an unconcerned God. You know, he can pull it back at will. He can generate at will, he can pull it back at will. Now I know this sounds like crazy talk for some people. This might sound like who is this guy? What is he talking about? What does he even know what he's talking about? अपनी कुछ बातें कही जा रहे, like might be thinking for me, but hang in there. Just put up with me. अभी थोड़ी देर में खाना होगा, but just it'll be fun then. But when the right time comes, this will be the truth that is experienced about God, right? So there is no insistence, certainly not on my part, that you should accept it. That ऐसा ही है और मानना ही पड़ेगा. I'm just saying what I know. Take it or leave it. No issue either way. No problem either way. So now, why do I say that? Because that's how I see my God operating. Right? I see my role model, my God, having created us all, completely giving us the freedom, 100%. कहीं नहीं कहा कि मेरे को ही भगवान मानना पड़ेगा, मेरे सामने ही नाक रगड़नी पड़ेगी, मेरी ही पूजा करनी पड़ेगी, तभी होगा, नहीं तो जूते दूंगा, मार दूंगा, ऐसा कहीं नहीं, कुछ नहीं. Those who don't worship God still get to eat, get to have vacation, go places, all that, right? Everybody has the freedom to be the way they want to be. And so that's another quality for us as an inspiration, that there's no reason to insist, आग्रह न करे, हेकड़ी न रखे अपनी, जिद न करे कि ऐसा ही हो, वैसा ही हो, क्योंकि भगवान की सृष्टि में everything is possible. If God is God, then in His creation, in His world, everything must be possible. Everything has to be possible by rule. Otherwise, how would He be God? If something is not possible, then it's not an all-inclusive, all-potential field, right? So we continue forward. A few more minutes, right? My ajanma, or maybe we can, maybe we'll do 2 or 3 more shlokas and then we'll stop. The next shlokas are very famous for us Hindus. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, right? Abhyutanam adharmasya. फिर 3 बातें कहते हैं. भगवान कहते हैं कि there are always 3 reasons why I come. Why I actually appear, why I actually descend, I actually take the form of a man or a fish or a turtle or whatever, a bird, जो भी हमेशा 3 बातों के लिए आता हूँ मैं. I'm talking in Hindi and English, so I apologize in advance, like you might miss some pieces. But like my God, I also try to be natural. I'm just like totally copying him. I'm such a copycat. As words come, they would. Later on, we can have a clarifying conversation if you'd like. But यहाँ पर the Hindu God, Krishna, I'm talking about, he says that anytime that I descend, I take an incarnation, there are always 3 central reasons, central principles. Always 3 reasons why I come. None of my incarnation has been without these 3, right? So, yada yada dharma ki glani, jab dharma, goodness, positivity is in danger. When goodness is endangered, when the time comes such that there will be anarchy, that some brute ruler, someone, a negative force, a dark force is about to take over. If I did not intervene, if the Almighty did not intervene, then the negative forces are sure to take over the rest of the world. And it's about to turn really bad and negative. That's one reason. Like when I start seeing those kinds of signs. Or sadhu purushon ka uddhar or dushton ka vinash. When the negative forces become so strong, become oppressors, the good ones become the victims. That there is no savior. That they have lost all hopes. When there is no one, they cannot look around and see, who am I going to pray to? Who is going to save me? There's no one left that I can really look up to, right? और तीसरा फिर जो दुष्टों को दंड देने के लिए, who will suppress the oppressors? Those who have gotten out of hand, out of control, nobody is able to control them. उनको कौन दबाएगा फिर, है ना? ये जो 3 कारण होते हैं, ग्लानिर भवति भारत, धर्म की संस्थापना, साधु पुरुषों का उद्धार और दुष्टों का नाश. ये 3 बातें, the confluence is created, the perfect storm. When there is a perfect storm, spiritually speaking, that is when I arrive. The spiritually perfect storm happens when these 3 things happen. धर्म संकट में जब आ जाए, है ना? There's no hope for goodness. That's one of the conditions. The bad ones, the negative forces, the dark forces, or the oppressors become so indomitable, uncontrollable. No one can control them. That's the second component of the perfect storm. And the good ones, the genuine ones, the positive forces become completely suppressed. दब गए. They kind of lose all their strength. ये 3 जब एकत्रित होती है, इकट्ठा आती है, so there is that spiritual perfect storm. Then I know that there is no hope other than me directly intervening, right? There is a time for direct intervention. That's when I come, whether he came as Ram, जब रावण, खर, दूषण, जैसे दुष्टों का नाश किया था, right? साधु पुरुषों का कितने 14 वर्ष के वनवास में, how many संतों को दर्शन देके, उनका आश्रम की शुद्धि करके, यही संत लोग आगे चल के गोपियां बन के आई थी, है ना? The scriptures tell us, रामायण and Bhagwat, when we read, राम जब वनवास में गए थे, like you may have heard this, but उतने ही सुंदर थे. राम कृष्ण ही था, कृष्ण राम ही था. जितना कृष्ण के सौंदर्य के विषय में बातें होती है, ऐसी बड़ी बड़ी आंखें, ऐसे ही लंबे बाल, वो लेकिन वो तेल लगा के बांध के रख देते बेचारे राम जी, है ना? ताकि किसी का आकर्षण न हो, अपनी ओर ध्यान नहीं किसी का हो. ये दूसरे महाराज बिल्कुल उल्टे थे कि कोई छूटे नहीं, है ना? कहीं इधर से जाए एक को न छोड़े, कुबड़ी हो तो भी पकड़ी जाए, कोई और लंबा हो, सबको. लेकिन वैसे ही बाल थे, वैसी ही आंखें थी, वैसा ही उसका कम्प्लेक्शन, स्किन कलर भी, सब हाइट, वो सब. इसके जो वर्णन आते जब राम, जो चौड़ी छाती कृष्ण की भी चौड़ी छाती थी, लेकिन वो वनमाला पहन के छुपा देते थे, है ना, कोमल गाला, ये तो मेरा बच्चा है, मेरा बेटा है, क्योंकि किसी उसकी चौड़ी क्षत्रिय की छाती की ओर ध्यान न जाए इसलिए। और जो राम जी थे कुछ पहनते वहनते नहीं थे, अपने धनुष बाण वो दिखाई देते थे, मर्द उनका मर्द था राम, है ना, तो मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम। या तो जब वो जाते थे वनवास से 14 साल, अनेकों संतों ने उनसे कहा कि oh my God, I can't leave you, Ram ji. Please take us with you. I want to go with you. Wherever you are, it doesn't matter where you're going. We will just follow you. We want to go with you. And he would say, no, you can't follow. ये वनवास मेरे को हुआ है, तुम लोगों को नहीं हुआ है. You can't follow me. It doesn't work that way. लेकिन जो बहुत सारे उनमें से 8 संत ऋषि लोग थे, बहुत ही पीछे पड़ गए थे। तो कहते उन्होंने कहा कि वेट, अगले अवतार में मैं जब आऊंगा, कृष्ण अवतार में, तब आई विल मेक श्योर दैट यू गेट द कंपनी। जितनी मन में आए उतनी तुम लोगों को मेरा संग मिलेगा, है ना, स्पर्श सुख मिलेगा, दर्शन सुख मिलेगा, प्रसाद सुख मिलेगा, सब धरामृत मिलेगा। तो वही कहते अष्ट सखिया बन के जो आई थी, जो महारास रची थी, उनके विषय में रामायण और महाभारत में आती कथा, ना महाभारत, भागवत में। सो the श्लोक that we kind of skipped is my अजन्मा और अविनाशी होकर भी अजो अपि सन्नव्ययात्मा। अज, j is जन्मवाचक, j is someone who is like birth, right? j suggests birth. अज is जो न जन्मे, जन्म जो हो, जिसका जन्म हो मरण भी हो, right? The one who is born has to die also, but the imperishable one does not have to perish. इसका जन्म ही न हुआ हो, वो कैसे इसका मृत्यु? जैसे मेरे रात में सपना आया, when I dream, the dream characters are born in my head. When I sleep, when I wake up, the dream characters have their death happening, right? They're dead. The next night when I dream, the dream characters are born again, and they're dead again. The third night, the dream characters are born again and dead again. It's the same material. Whatever material I used in my खोपड़ी, right? पहले दिन जो सपना बनाने के लिए जो बनाया था, उसी मटेरियल से दूसरा भी बनाया, तीसरा भी बना, हमेशा वो बार बार जन्म रहे मर रहे, बजाने मर रहे। मैं थोड़ी हर रोज रात को मर रहा हूँ, जन्म रहा हूँ, right? In that scope, in that spectrum, मैं तो अजन्मा हूँ। लेकिन मैं अपने को जो अपने आप सपने में देख लूँ अगर, तो यहाँ पर भगवान talking about the cosmic dream, obviously. अजो अपि सन is सत अव्यय, right? अजर, so first thing अजन्मा। जो मैंने पहले बात की सहज स्थिति, I should shed some light on that. हम सहज शब्द को बहुत सहजता से ले लेते हैं, unfortunately, right? सहज, so सहज is a very deep, very profound, very loaded word that we take so casually. It's an unfortunate event. Ja is janmavachak. Aja is non, like the one who is not born. Or saha aja, sahaj, right? The one who always lives with the unborn. So sahaj sthiti is the state of mind of a yogi, of someone who is as if constantly living with God, constantly in communion with God, constantly in companionship with God, constantly experiencing God. So what is that like? If you were with God, if truly God was with you, why would you be afraid? Would you be afraid if you were with God? You would be. If I'll let you define God the way you want to define God, and after that I'll ask you now, if you are with him or her, however you define it, will you be afraid? There's no need for fear. There's no place for fear. Why would you be jealous of anyone? Why would you feel insecure? Why would you feel any less? Right? Why would you feel any negativity? Why would you feel not loved? Why would you feel deprived in any way? Why would you be concerned of the future? Right? In essentially, you will be completely negativity free. Just sahaj hoga. Right? And I said siddha ki avastha, jo next time we'll talk about, one of the circles is sahaj sthiti, like spontaneously pure. Why spontaneous? Because there's no need for impurity. There is no reason for impurity. There is no place for contamination. There is no motive, because it's living in a pure consciousness state of mind. So sahaj is living with aja. Aja is the unborn God, like the primal creator, the one who was always there, There was never a time when he was not. The one who created time, the one who created space, and the one who is beyond space and time. You know? If you finish all the space travel, I feel like there's nothing beyond it. We talked about this once, Sunny. I know you remember that. Then the natural question will be, so what? उसके आगे क्या है? अगर सब खत्म हो गया जगह, space खत्म हो गया तो उसके आगे क्या है? There has to be something beyond space. That is space too, right? And you can keep going. If you said this is when time started, we hear from different scriptures. Oh, with the Big Bang Theory, this started for 5 billion years ago, and all of that. I wouldn't go into the details of it. Maryada rakhe. Then the natural, like हमारा बच्चा आगे naturally पूछेगा, so what was there before that? Like something had, like, was there time? There must have been time before that Big Bang Theory, right? Yeah, there had to be some time, some space. And so the creator of all of that, Aja, जैसे मेरे सपने में सृष्टि बनाई, जब मेरा सपना शुरू हुआ रात के 2 बजे, उसके पहले भी मैं था. सपना तो सृष्टि तो 2 बजे निर्माण हुई, 3 बजे सपना खत्म हो गया, राइट? उसके बाद भी मैं हूँ सपना देखने वाला. The dreamer exists before the dream starts, and the dreamer exists after the dream finishes. The dreamer is not dependent on the dream. The dream is dependent on the dreamer. Thus, likewise, Aja is the one who created this cosmic dream, or Sahaj, the companion with, living with, Sahaj Avastha. So, यहाँ पर वो आता है कि Ajo Api San Avyayatma. I promise you that we'll stop short soon, and we're getting towards that stage. Sat Avyay Atma. So why am I talking about this? Because this session is God and God's words. भगवान के शब्दों में भगवान अपने लिए कह रहे हैं कि ये अज हूँ मैं अजन्मा हूँ. I was never born. मैं सत हूँ, अव्यय हूँ. व्यय करना मतलब spending. Vyaya means spending. Avyaya is inexhaustible. One who cannot be consumed fully, cannot be spent. There's no way to finish God. He cannot say that I'm going to use him. He's going to create, work, and then finally he's going to be exhausted or finished or completely consumed. Because he's ever replenishing. Always like infinitely replenishing, ever replenishing. Isn't that Sanatan ki jyoti hai? So, avyaya, like never spent. Never ever fully spent. Never spent at all. In fact, in one of our scriptures, Upanishadon में आता है ना, पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते. सुना होगा ना? पूर्ण से पूर्ण. मंदिरों में सुनते हैं, पंडित जी कहते हैं पूर्ण से पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते. He's so complete, he's so full that even if you took out all of him out of him, whatever still remains is also full and complete. So it's like infinitely complete, mind-blowingly complete. Mind-blowingly full, that you take all of him out and still remains the full. Avashishate, जो बाकी रहा वो भी पूरा हो गया. ऐसी भगवान की व्याख्या आती है, right? उपनिषद में. So ajo api, even though I am ajanma. Aja api, in Sanskrit, api is even though, even still, right? Even though I am unborn, I never take birth. Sat avyaya. Sat is I am existence itself. Sat means existence. It's not that I exist or I don't exist or I've taken the form, I've not taken the form, or I've lost my form. I am existence. This is God talking about God, God describing God for the believers, for those who believe, right? So think about that. Like some other time when you're alone, when you're meditating, think about what that means. I am existence. I am, period, full stop, right? Whatever is, if there is, अगर है तो वो भगवान है ना? इस पर विचार करना. अगर है, ये है अथवा ये नहीं है. नहीं है में भी है आया. देखो, look at the trick, right? You just can't go around it. There's no way out of it. है या नहीं है, नहीं है को भी है उसके साथ जुड़ के आ ही गया. मैं हूँ, नहीं हूँ में भी हूँ आ गया. So God is that existence that is, I am. And not complete, that's just, these are the different manifestations, different qualities of Him. So aja, api, sat, sat is existence. Avyaya is inexhaustible. Atma, the core, atom, the essence, sabhika, existing in all. Atma is the one, the common, unifying force who exists everywhere, in every atom, in every molecule, therefore in me and you as well. All the same, ever the same. Then why would I hate anyone? Why would I be afraid of anyone? Why would I try to dominate someone? Why would I want to convert anyone? Why would I want to scorn anyone? Why would I want to have any feeling other than that of unity and oneness, and therefore acceptance and ultimately love towards everyone? Why wouldn't I be all-inclusive? Why would I be divisive? Why would I find one superior than the other? Right? If I am ignorant, if my brain is limited, if I'm not able to see the full truth as it is, then perhaps I might say, I am superior, you're inferior. But the more broad-minded, the more open-minded, the more higher-level perspective, frankly, the more intelligent that I am, I will be able to see that, oh my God, there's the same unity for which everything and everyone. There's no such thing, there's no point in hatred. There's no reason for hatred or divisiveness. And Atma, that is the loaded meaning that's carried by Atma. ये जो सब में एक है, जैसा एक जैसा है, same है. So, और वो मैं हूँ भगवान कहते. देखो, like he's like the one, the God that we worship as Hindus, right? He's telling us Hindus that he is in all. He never said that he's only in the Hindus or only in humans, which is why we strictly remain vegetarians also. I shall not kill, because you know what? He said, thou shalt not kill, right? And therefore I shall not kill. Definitely not for my own gratification. So on Thanksgiving, you read in the monthly email, go vegetarian. Right? So, ajo api sannavyatma bhutanam ishwaropi. He said, anyone and anything that has taken a form, that's bhut. Anything that has a form, I am the final one, Ishwar. Var is upar. Ish is the greatest well-wisher. Ish is kalyan, right? The well-wishing force, the positive force, the most powerful well-wishing force of all, equitable, equal. He does not favor one and disfavor the others. Equally well-wishing of all that have taken the form. That is the meaning conveyed by Bhutanam Ishwaropi. भगवान ने कहते मैं ही भगवान हूँ. देखो भैया ध्यान से सुनना, स्वीकार कर लेना. This is a good time, good day. The words have fallen on your ears. The lucky ones will catch it. This is from the Gita. I am not making it. मेरा अपना माल नहीं है. You can read it in black and white here if you want. So God is saying, I am God. Pay attention. Like he's, and I'm not saying that, and I'm the same in all, and I'm the same for all, and the equally well-wisher of all, and I am the greatest of the great. And he's describing, I am existence, therefore nothing can exist without me, because I am existence. Forget those things that exist and not. The very primal, very fundamental, very foundational grounding principle, he is Sat Chit Anand, right? San Avyaya Atma. तो भगवान ने कहा मैं भगवान हूँ, सभी का भगवान हूँ. कहीं नहीं कहा कि खाली हमारा भगवान है, उनका भगवान है. सबका भगवान है, right? Or again, Ishwar is, in itself, we say casually, Ishwar, but another very glorious concept conveyed by the word Ishwar. It's like, again, Ish is the unfailingly well-wishing force who will not give up on us ever, no matter how bad we've been, no matter how wrong we have been. कितने भी बुरे में बुरा, अपि चेत सुदुराचारो, पापे भ्यो पाप कृतम. भगवान कहते भगवद गीता में, इसी में आगे चल के, you may be the most heinous person who ever walked on this planet, the worst of the worst. Hard to imagine a worse person than you or me, right? Api chet sudurachar. Even still, you have hope in me. भगवान पे अगर विश्वास हो, है ना, भगवान का ज्ञान की प्राप्ति हो, अगर भगवान में मन लग जाए, And those who are align their lives with God, God says, clearly cross the ocean. This miserable ocean are able to cross in the boat of their faith alone. अपनी श्रद्धा, अपने विश्वास के नाव में बैठ के, you're able to cross the stormy sea using the boat of your faith in God. Right? So, prakritim swamadhishtaya sambhavamyatmamaya. And then how does he come if he's ajopi? If he's unborn, how did he take birth? Why did he take birth? Like, if he's unborn, we hear that he took birth. द्वारका में आए, जेल में जन्मे, जो भी सुना हमने, अयोध्या में जन्मे. It's like I control my own maya. I enter my own dream. Right? For that time being, I manipulate my own ability, my own power to dream. I also take the form in my own dream. For the bad ones, those just smack them around, just set them right, uplift the good ones, reestablish the founding principles, the fundamental, the positive principles which we call religion, and then receive, go back in my original state. And that's what he said, right? Like, this is my dream. There are the good, there are the not so good, and there are those in between. Over the time, it degrades. There is degradation that happens. अच्छाई का भ्रष्ट होता, योग भ्रष्ट अभिजायते, है ना, कहते कि भगवान से जो मिला हुआ, the good one, the good principles, the principle of love of God starts to degrade and is replaced by the principle of love of self, me, instead of you. And when that is more, then it's all selfish, all self-driven, it's all about me and less about you, or not at all about you. There comes a threshold level below which, if it continues to degrade, the world will collapse. There will be no goodness, no positivity, no love left. That's when I re-enter my own dream, taking a form. And then, like I said, in my words, just smash the parents around, just shoo them away, right? Uphold and elevate the good one, the positive one, reestablish, and then go back. And for thousands of years, then he says, that continues. I uplift it, put it up. And then it starts to percolate and trickle down and degrade again. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, like I said, the four time zones we have, right? Satya Yuga, Kali Yuga is 72,000 years long. We are in Kali Yuga, which is the lowest. Below this is the threshold when God's going to come back again, according to our scriptures and our belief, right? So this is a 72,000-year-old period. And for our calendar, we're like in 2063. This is something like, we're in 2063. We accept 2016 with Lord Jesus' birth. We accept that. No issue with it, no problem. It's good. It's fine. It works. It helps. All glories, right? But according to our scripture, this is the 2063 is the year that's going on out of the 72,000. When it's around about the 72,000th year, it's going to be so bad. And it's not like it's overnight degradation. Ki, 71,000 tak sab theek chalega, then achha sab bigad jayega. It's a constant degradation. Constant degradation, negative, right? Bad. At some level, it can be intolerable. Humanity cannot exist like this. We'll no longer be identified as humans. We'll be worse than dogs. The way we'll treat each other and think about each other and all that. That's when he says, okay, I'll come back again, and then तीन बातें जो करते हैं, साधु पुरुषों का उद्धार, दुष्टों का दमन, और धर्म की संस्थापना. Those are the three things. Again, in the different Kalki avatar, right? The next one is supposed to be a Kalki avatar. So he is describing himself in this way. Next time, Kamlesh Behan, we will pick up with chapter 4, shlok number 9, where it says, Janma karma chame divyam, evam yo veti tattvataha, tyakta deham punarjanma. Okay, even if you really genuinely believe this, the time will come when you'll understand it. Right now, you don't necessarily understand what this means. Like when I say you, I include myself in it, because God is talking to us, right? So, understand or not, there is value for faith. faith is valuable. Faith has its own value. Belief, agar vishwas ho, shraddha ka dhan, right? We call it shraddha ka dhan, wealth of faith. We call faith the greatest wealth. Those who believe are the wealthiest, right? For our principle. So, even those who believe everything that we're hearing, that what? Janma karma chame divyam. My birth and my deeds, lila, are divine, are spiritual. They're not mundane. They're not of this world. That I'm not made of bone, flesh, and blood. That I'm actually made of Satya, Chitta, Ananda. That I don't actually take birth and then die and then my body is burned or buried and then that's the finish. That God is finished. God is not dead. Right? That those who believe this, even they, just on the basis of their belief alone, it goes so far ahead, has such a strong chance of actually understanding this. And they no longer then have to go through this miserable world or experience the misery that the world gives us. So we'll start with that next time. I think we should just do dhyan for 10 more minutes, the same dhyan that we did in the beginning. And then we'll go around a little bit. So remember, was Ashwini Bhai is playing that song we talked about, or the dhyan music. We talked about sadhak, the spiritual aspirant, right? The seeker, and the siddha. On one end of the spectrum is the seeker. शुरुआत कहाँ से होती? साधक से. साधना कर रहे हैं ना, हम लोग कहते हैं साधना करनी. क्या साधना करनी? किस लिए साधना करनी है? कैसी साधना करनी है? So that whole universe is sadhak. The other sadhana जब पूर्ण होगी, मरते दम तक साधना तो नहीं करनी है ना? It doesn't make any sense that like until the end, all we're doing is sadhana. यानी कुत्ते भौंक रहे मरते दम तक और हम साधना कर रहे हैं, तो उसमें फिर क्या फर्क हुआ? साधना का तात्पर्य ये हुआ कि सिद्ध हो जाए कि ऐसा समय है when we actually accomplish the goal that which we started. So in the sadhana mode, we are not a sadhak unless we are operating in those three things. धर्मनिष्ठ हो, शरणागत हो, है ना, इसमें भगवान की शरणागति की बात आती है, और अपेक्षा रहित हो. So again, if we have expectations from others, then we're not a seeker in its real sense. If we are not God aligned, if we don't believe in God, if we don't have faith, then we're not a seeker. Or if we're not dutiful, if we're not engaged, if we're not doing what we must do in the best possible way, then also we're not a seeker. So real sadhak, according to Bhagavad Gita, has those three things. Dharmanishta जीवन हो, शरणागत जीवन हो, और अपेक्षा रहित जीवन हो. और जिसकी यात्रा पूरी हो जाए, उसकी स्थिति कैसे? तो कहीं सहज स्थिति होगी. अभी हमने सहज शब्द की व्याख्या करी. It's not a very casually taken word. सहज से भगवान के साथ रह रहा है हर क्षण. कैसे रहोगे अगर सचमुच में भगवान यहाँ पे अभी आ जाए टपक के? वेलबजी अंदर लाया सत्संग के गीता चल रहा है, सुना, अभी यहाँ के आगे बैठ, ये यहाँ से बाहर निकला ऐसे और यहाँ पे आके बैठ गया, तो कैसे जीवन हो जाएगा? If you truly believe, right? So सहज स्थिति हो जाए जिसकी, which is spontaneously pure, uncontaminated, unmotivated, everything, all of it. And then ईश्वर प्रेमी हो, भगवत प्रेमी हो, प्रेम छोड़कर जो दूसरी बात ही न जाने. Love immersed, God immersed, totally absorbed in love of God. That's the second stage of the second characteristic of the accomplished one. और तीसरी संकल्प रहित, super unattached, totally free, attached to nothing, attached to no one, no results, no people, no nation, no, ever free. Wherever he or she is just as good, regardless of anything else, right? So that's the avastha siddha. So we talked about that spectrum today, and doing